We've missed the gems.
So, yeah, hearing your whakaaro around that and presenting that to panel and talks as well to consider. Would it just be a potential advantage to your whenua, but also to whenua Māori?
Yeah.
Whanau district.
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking a lot about papakainga for our people. We know our people, we want to do that for our people, and we have plans to do that for our people. This bit of land that's at the end of what you saw yesterday, because it was zoned coastal living, we understood we could do that quite easily, and that's really going to help with the means to do that new papakainga for our people. Last year in September, we bought a new parcel of land over in Waimate North, and it is land that we believe was lost. So when we talk about our vision statement, Kei kaua te whenua riro, the greatest expression is that to reacquire it. And so we're looking at that block of land and the neighbouring blocks to try and capture those, to do those things for our people as well, you know. And so, but in terms of what a papakainga looks in developing a model that can protect and help them access security, you know, because one would just be grants, you know, that we have to apply for a grant to do infrastructure. Like, we can't all do that, you know, and in fact it's dried up quite a bit, you know. So I don't know if I answered your question.
I think as well the prior discussion on the rating aspect is some consideration of a move to capital-based rating systems. So that's a part of this discussion.
We probably haven't put too much emphasis on the financial losses, which, you know, you can see in monetary terms, but it's quite a...
It's also land utilisation. You know, pull a new rule and then it renders a property unusable, land unusable for a purpose in which we might want to be used. That's the other. It's not just about, but certainly that's what helps us develop and provide benefits to our people. So.
In a precinct, you can outline exemptions to all of them. It's essentially a special set of rules, especially for the...
It's only the concept I became familiar with yesterday.
Kia koutou. Thank you for the conversation this morning around aspirations and the implications as part of that process. So I do have a question for Mr. Sanson, your planner. Now that we've heard of this, that the potential precinct might be a better option, my question relates to the development area and I suppose you could frame it in the precinct as well. So my question is, to what extent would the development area / precinct mechanism reduce the need for individual land use or subdivision consents, particularly for the existing smaller lots? So now having this conversation in the precinct, in the development area, because in your rebuttal evidence you said yes, the development area is suggests it's relevant, but and then this morning it was, however, tied to papakainga only can be a challenge. Are you able to clarify for me how this efficiency gain would be realised through the plan framework rather than at the consenting stage?
So if it was a precinct, for example, I pulled out that setback rule that could be addressed. I think the other rule I had in my evidence was that if it was urban, maybe around 20-50% coverage, but if it's rural, it's only 25%. So those were the some of the ones I had tagged out in my early evidence that could be worked through precincts. The other zone. And, yeah, the development area aspect, I did agree with him for, it's great as it's a life project on the, for incorporation. I guess the only thing I wasn't agreeable with is DG, one particular housing type, which is I found that would be more enabling because despite the size of the site, which is quite large, it would still be limited to 10 houses at the public level. Also, the development area was a doubling of itself.
Okay, so what I want to do is just acknowledge the report. Mr. Witherell has suggested that whilst, even though we're in the last day of the last hearing, that council would be receptive to the drafting of precinct provisions, the absolute deadline being 1st of June, middle of December, to align with the rights of reply for hearing 15 C and D. What I take it from you that you're quite receptive to that offer. So
would that be alongside our planners as well? Would we do that together?
you do it together, the cooperative process. The onus would be on Mr. Sanson to draft the provisions the council corresponding. Having said that, what I was saying before is that the council officers have had quite a bit of experience in precinct drafting now, and so I think that they could be a little bit more iterative in assisting Mr. Sanson. So, but I mean, obviously I will need to issue a limit to confirm this. But what I'd like two parties to do is agree pretty much on where the deadline's going to be. If you want to have a little chat about who writes what, when, and agree that, then I can formalise that.
Yeah, look, there's not a lot of time to waste, and I think there's probably in discussion with the team, and Mr. Sanson has been involved, I understand, with Mr. Wyeth previously, and
So you've had
so there's some experience there.
That's right.
So we have a 14th of November indicative date for a draft, which gives us some opportunity to discuss differences, agreements, work through those, and also to provide time for the officer to complete their right to reply as well.
And that sounds fine. I think you just want to have a bit of confidence between each other and come back to me, or back to Alicia Kate, with an agreed timeline of all of us. Great. You're good.
I'm with you. Thank you.
Right, so I think Commissioner has another question for you.
I think it would be more for our council planner. But the question I've got, Teresa, can you elaborate on how a development area would operate in practice within the multi-purpose zone? So would it function as a scheduled overlay or through specific plan provisions, just to understand streamlining processes in the future? I know you've provided some
objectives and policies, and
this particular one, no rules, it was more light on the zone rules.
Yeah, it's in Appendix 1 of the 4012. Yeah, where there's a specific exemption from Rule 5, NPZ Rule 5. So it says on lot 1 DP 18496, where a maximum of 20 square feet is permitted within Tapuatahi development area. And then there's a specific captions and objective and policy for Tapuatahi development area and the concept plan. I think what we've discussed today is the precinct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check for the future.
Okay, well, I think we have a really positive way forward. I think everyone, I hear in as to where we would like it to land. And I think we've got a very task to achieve that. So I think on that note, we'll leave it there. So thank you very much. I think this has been a really helpful submission and evidence exchange. And I really appreciate the willingness of everybody to cooperate. And there's a real pleasure, I should say. I really appreciate it with its solution-focused approach to this.
Me kapi au tēnei wahanga e tātanga. The good thing about closing, of course, I want to thank everyone for their participation in this process. Whenever we come together in these gatherings, of course, there's opportunities for innovative ways of dealing with problems that are confronting all of us, of course, not just us. And sometimes I think when you're bound to come up with policies that have to try and cover as many people as you can, that it doesn't cover specific issues like we're addressing today. There isn't one that fits all. And I think when planners and policy makers, they have a wider scope that they have to deal with. I'd like to think that the innovative things that came out of today is that we can look at something that specifically deals with our issues at Tapuatai, the issues that will confront us when we go and stand in front of our shareholders and say that the benefits of us working together outweigh all of the other things that we have to contend with. And that's really where we are, that everything that we have a look at, what are the benefits for our people? It's that simple. And of course, Mario and Steve have already talked about that around the securement of our lands and these investments that help us to then buy other lands that were ours. And the only way that we can procure those lands is through investing in projects that we put in front of the council to enable us to do that. So regardless whether it's Papakai or its sole function is to enable us to invest in other means of providing benefits for our people and securing more land, of course. These guys already are putting their bids on their whenua that we bought that farm in Waimate, I can tell. And I want to thank them for their support. Of course, take the opportunity and of course looking forward to whatever that precinct's going to look like. But it'll only look good if it benefits our people and our goal of retaining our land. So no reira, hoi nāno, mihi kawana kia koutou. Koutou katoa I runga I tō koutou nei whakaro. Kia wātea mātou te hare te tuku mai wa mātou me kōrero. Ki wanga mui a koutou. Runga I tēnā me waihonga atu tēnā he whakakapi. Te piki a tēri pēr. Te piki a tēri pēr. Te piki a tēri Te matai whanaroa Au tangata Puta ki purua Eira ka uri mai Waimate o Hawaii O tia tau mai Hei hei au e That small pepeha named some significant sites that we align to, we share with other of our close kin, and those are the things we protect with our lives, just as this place is And nā reira e mi kawana, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Kia ora tātou. I might take these slides for my notes.
No casinos, eh? No casinos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was just thinking about
Is it muted? No, it's not muted. You just need me to press the break. Okay.
last day of the last hearing. So I don't want any pressure.
And she's got a really important meeting they're waiting for you.
And you,
with one of my many other hats on.
notwithstanding that we've been doing this for 18 months solid, you have our full attention. So you are, you're the Waitomo Papakainga,
I am.
and we've got some evidence being circulated. So, right, we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you.
And your
Tēnā tātou. Just tēnā kaurua to our two councillors who have made it back in, and yay to the whānaos for keeping that Māori ward. So nō reira, tēnā kaurua, and of course to Teresa and to the other people that over the many years I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with. So, so my name is Katie Murray, and with this particular hat on, I am the CEO of Waitomo Papakainga, a social services provider in Kaitaia, and we've worked in our Kaitaia area with our people for the last 40 odd years. My family are from the Herekino area and have given birth to our children and brought them all up and gone to Teresa's school and all sorts of things. Gone to Hilda's school too. And in the process of our living in those areas and bringing our children up, we got to see some of the deprivation that exists in our part of the world. And so 40 years ago, my whānau couldn't believe that there was, all of our cousins were so different to us. So we created a whānau trust called Waitomo Papakainga. We brought back a piece of whenua out in Manukau, and the name of that whenua was Waitomo, and so we created the trust around that whenua with the idea always of putting papakainga there and building homes for our people, for our whānau. So then during the journey of being the CEO of Waitomo Papakainga and working with a whole lot of our whānau within the Kaitaia and the wider whānau area, some of the things that we were introduced to, which we weren't in our lives, being brought up with our parents, we were introduced to poverty, to all of the ministries, to children being taken off their families, to men and women being imprisoned and incarcerated, to all of the addictions that are really high in Kaitaia. So Waitomo Papakainga is an organisation that works in that arena, and it gets worse every year. One of the things that hasn't changed is there are no houses for our people. And so when we work with these people, two things over the years we know must happen. We must be able to create houses so that these families can create homes. Okay, not just houses, not just buildings that you put your family in, but that they are able and enabled to create longer lasting homes. Homes. So that they can bring their children up. The other thing they need, of course, are jobs, which, of course, Waitomo we're creating. And in the last 18 months, I think we have put out of prison, we've put 16 or 17 men into full-time work in Kaitaia. And I give you this backdrop because it leads to, we purchased a piece of land in Pukeputu. And so, just so we have a clear whakapapa connection, my grandmother, on my mother's side, has whakapapa into Pukeputu, and down Pangone, we have shares in that whenua down there. Plus, of course, I married a Murray, and Hilda's line, and she knows that the Murrays came from over in England somewhere, and they came here and they married a Tikuni who was from Pukeputu. So there's a clear connection to the whenua, and so when it came up for sale, it's a flat piece of land that we can build houses on. Not like where Hilda and I come from, and Hirikino and Whangape, where it's all hilly, where we were pushed to, you know, the outskirts into the rural areas. We're still on dirt roads. We still have septic tanks in our properties all out there. We are not connected. All of that kind of stuff. So that's one part of my story. The second part is to enable that to happen. I became the chair of Te Raroa. Because it all goes in, you know, in the future, in the plan, we need to be strategizing about how we might be able to do these things. And get over the past and move forward. So part of the purchase of Pukepoto was to build houses on Pukepoto. Because what we have to, in my view, this is all my view, okay, mine and my family's view, is about generational wealth will happen when people have got a home that they can be in for generations. Not just to rent in Kaitaia and pay somebody else's mortgage off, and that the house is shitty and you don't look after it because it isn't yours anyway. This is about grounding our people, and that is the beginning of them creating their generational wealth. So that's why we bought the land. Okay, I'm not the one that works out what zoning it is. I'm the one that sees this 20-something odd acres, and it's the old Matthews farm, and we know the Matthews, you know, from way before it's, you know. And so I say to my people, let's buy that land. We need to buy it. It's lovely, it's flat, it's close to Kaitaia, close to the schools, close to the shopping, you know, because people haven't got cars, all of that kind of thing. So I have bought it. And then I was told, oh yeah, but it's general title, okay? Okay, that's all right. Okay, that's fine. So what? But I didn't realise that it was zoned something, house or farming, rural something. And to be able to put houses on, we need to, well, okay. It was interesting listening to this lot, because they talked about papakainga. And they got somebody's definition about, your fellow's definition about papakainga. Kainga, it's a community. It's a community of, in my view, okay, here's my definition. It is a community of people who connect to one another to build a community. Whether it's whakapapatais, and it usually is, and nowhere, you know, everywhere up in the Kaitaia area, we're all related some way or other. There's 5 iwi up there, and all the 5 iwi are linked by whakapapa. So how do we create that? How do we create the material stuff so that all the other stuff can be inputted into it, really? Because iwi hasn't been managed to do much housing in our area. Now they are, kind of, but they're still waiting. How do we do that from outside to encourage our people to ground themselves? Because the other thing about social services, they're very transient people. People that we work with go backwards and forwards. So one of the things to do about that, in my view, is to ground them in a place surrounded by whanaunga who will support them at their hard times. That's how we were brought up out in Hirikino. We could run to any of those houses, have a feed, mum knew that we were all right. So builders usually just build houses, and they just put people everywhere. They put whomever everywhere. Papakainga is a different place. You can create a community. You can create a place where it's safe for everybody, where everyone is connected and can start to enjoy the benefits of papakainga. So that's me. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to try to change, I think, the zone. It's in general title, because that's another thing. It's in general title. Well, why do we want to put papakainga there? Well, why can't we? Why can't we put papakainga onto general title? It says somewhere in a national something that you can put papakainga anywhere. Well, and why shouldn't we be able to do that? Because actually, general title means I can go to the bank and borrow some money, and those people that I want to put in there, they can also go to the bank and borrow money, turn it into Māori title. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Because then straight away the options are lessened. So I don't know about the technical side of things, okay? That's why he's there and he'll answer those questions. But that's the setting of the scene that I'd like you to have in mind when you're discussing our case. Nō reira, tēnā tātou.
So I think we're going to pass over to Mr. Hood and then do some questions at the end.
All right.
If that's okay with you.
Sure.
Most of you may know me, but my name's Brett Hood. I'm a planning consultant working for Raven and Bryant in Whangarei. I didn't lodge this submission. It was lodged by a different consultant. But fundamentally, what it asked for was for land zone rural production to be rezoned Maori purpose zone rural for the purpose of enabling public eye. It's fundamentally what the submission is about. Unfortunately, when I got involved and started to do evidence, it came a little bit more technical than that, and so my evidence probably comes across a little bit that way because it starts getting into the weeds of definitions. And I know you will have read it, so I'm not going to go over it again, but what I thought might be useful, and I've sort of prepared my statement in this way, is just to try and work through the flow of logic, planning logic that runs through these definitions, in order to understand what the implications are for Waitomo if certain things happen. So starting at my issue statement, which is section 2 of the document, if you have it in front of you. As you heard, this piece of land is general title. If the definition of Māori land in the proposed district plan remains as it is, it actually includes general land, all land. Right? So this is a strange situation here where we're actually telling you something which is not in the interests of Waitomo, because the definition of Māori land in the district plan at the moment, the proposed district plan, is not the definition in the Te Ture Whenua Māori Act, and in fact the definition that's been put in there includes all land, general land. So that's an interesting thing, because if that stays there, then firstly, if the zone was to stay rural production, then the Papakainga provisions could be used because the Papakainga for Waitomo, because the Papakainga provisions refer to Māori land, and according to the definition, that's all land. Māori land, general land, whatever. And secondly, there's no, according to the council's reporting officers, they're concerned that turning or changing the zone of rural production land into Māori purpose land, the Māori purpose zone, shouldn't happen because the land's not Māori land. Well, under the definition, it actually is. So if that definition is to be retained, then no problem with the Papakainga definition, and there's no, as far as I can see, roadblock to the land being rezoned. But I don't think it's going to stay as it is, because it's not the definition that is in the Te Ture Whenua Māori Act, and I'm pretty sure either through this process, plan process, or a clause 16 process, that definition is going to change, and if it changes, that presents some issues for Waitomo.
So just to help me join some dots. The rural production zone does provide for Papakainga housing as well, doesn't it?
It does.
You're not seeking a Māori purpose zone purely for Papakainga housing, because the zoning that you have at the moment does enable it. Is there some other benefit that Māori purpose zone will provide?
Well, just in terms of what you've just laid out there, the main difference in terms of the rules for Papakainga in the Māori purpose zone and the rules for Papakainga in the rural production zone is that one needs a consent and the other doesn't. So that's that's
restricted discretionary.
yeah. The issue that that Waitoma has with the definition of papakainga is that it does refer to Māori land, and it does. There are some other exemptions. One of those is ancestral link, but also that the land be owned by Māori. Now, it is owned by Māori, but if the council wanted to have a look at the constitution of this society, there's no guarantee or requirement that it be owned by Māori. So the concern, if that definition remains as it is that Waitoma may not actually be able to use it. So if there's a rule that's called papakainga, but you don't comply with the definition, then you can't use the rule. So then all of a sudden it's non-compliant. So that's the issue that's essentially been, that I came across when I started to do my evidence. Yeah. So as I say, if things stay as they are, which I don't think they will, but if they do, no problem. The zone can be changed, and even if it isn't changed, papakainga would be available. But if the zone, if the definition does change, then there's potentially a problem. Well, there's potentially a problem with qualifying for papakainga under the definition, and council have an issue with rezoning land, multi-purpose zone, if it's not multi-land. And I guess what I will say to that is the national planning standards don't say that you can't have multi-purpose zone applying to land that's not multi-land. And my evidence is pretty clear but I mean, it's a definition of what it is, and it doesn't say anything about tenure. It's about what it's being used for. So I don't think there's a roadblock, but the council do, and probably because they've structured the multi-purpose zone chapter, assuming that multi-land is the focus, and not realising that the definition they've put into the plan is actually not the definition of multi-land under that act. Yeah. So it is complicated. Yeah, but that's the long and short of it. Yeah.
So council officers are aware of this definition issue.
Yes.
And that's a 42 report that addresses it.
Yes. So we're talking about the Māori land, the definition is under 2. So the plan uses the Tutuki Māori Act definition, as Mr. Hill correctly points out, that includes general land, but that part of the Act is the broad definition of Māori land, and it includes all land in New Zealand. So we've applied that incorrectly in the plan because the intention of the Māori purpose zone is to zone land that is Māori freehold land and Māori customary land. So the definition we've used in the plan is the broad definitions that can be construed as incorrect, or we don't have scope to change them.
Oh, okay.
Under section 16 even.
Is it part of your submission that you change that definition or not?
Well, consequential relief, maybe.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
are you sort of saying, oh, we would change it if we could, but
Yeah.
you've got a scope issue?
Yes.
So let's explore that.
And consequential of this clause that might be a bit, yeah, the three.
You have an opinion on that, Mr. Hill?
To be honest, it's wading into legal territory. You know.
What's the benefits of being a Māori purpose zone for some whenua you've just got back by Katie?
Not sure about that legal stuff, but it sounds like if we become a Māori purpose, whatever zone, and state general title, it means that I'm not going to have to go through all that with doing resource consents and that I will be able to then spend my money on planning what it looks like and building houses for my people. And so all of that you know, because Bronson, he's on that side, I'm just here. I want homes for my people, Whaiahuru, you know that, you know Kaitaia needs homes. And so 2 years ago, I think it was around about 2 years ago, we purchased it with the intention of being able to put some of our people into homes. The easiest way and the least costly way is, of course, the way that we want to go.
Sorry, another one. How many houses are you wanting to build on this block of land?
We would have to go through the whole planning thing. There's 20 odd acres. So how many houses can you build? And of course we couldn't afford to build them all at once. We would do it in stages. So that's the intention, is to have the orchard there, to have the playground there, to incorporate all those things within a community. So we haven't actually gone into the planning of it yet because we have to get through this process, and then we'll have a look at. I have been to Pukepoto, they have 2 marae there. I went there as soon as I purchased it and said, how's it? Kia ora whanaunga, I'm the one that's bought that, here's the intention, and both marae said, go hard whai Katie. We tautoko. So I've already been in to see the hau kainga there, and and really, Pukepoto is in an ideal position because it's so close to Kaitaia. To start to build it, in my view, into a bigger settlement than it is. Because I think they have got, one of the families are thinking about a papakainga near the marae or something, I don't know. But they've been to see me. James Watkinson, I think, is the chair of one of those marae who are looking at doing, so he's been to see me and said, fine, let's do it together. I said, hang on, let's go through the process, this process first. Once that's done, I'll come back to the marae and we'll have a talk about what that might look like for all of the Pukepoto community. So I've been in touch with them.
So thank you, Whaia. And Hilda's just sort of asked the question in regards to your first piece of relief, rezoning from dual production to multi-purpose zone. We have that question, what's the benefit? The question I have is, in your relief, I'm making reference to B, I suppose, amending the multi-purpose zone provisions to align with National Planning Standards definition, which does not include the multi-purpose land. My question is, do you have specific wording or any draft amendments in mind?
I did put some wording into my evidence. In fact, I've got a couple of options in there. Yep. I don't think either of them are perfect, but I had a go at it. Yes. It's in terms of the definition of papakainga, it's a very, I guess from the Waitomo perspective, it's a very small tweak needed, and it's that little, because Waitomo satisfies all of the criteria apart from potentially the one about ownership, being Māori ownership. Even though it's Māori ownership, the Constitution doesn't necessarily reflect that. So if that is questioned, that's a risk. Apart from that, the definition is okay. Assuming that this Māori land definition is changed.
I'm not sure about what Rita's talking about the ownership, the trust, the whatever and the whatever. Actually, Waitunga Papakainga belongs to my whānau. We created it, we created the deed, we created all of it. So it is clearly, for me, Māori owned. It's owned by my family. They are our trust. There is just brothers and sisters who, in the end, with our parents, had a vision to ensure that we were all housed. Because we were able to do that, we are now trying to support other whānau into the same conditions that we are. So I wouldn't question the ownership. The ownership is clearly Māori owned. I get confused because of the legal things, that's all.
Yeah. Does a rural production zone prevent you from building houses?
The rural production zone allows us to build houses, but requires, I think, that we have to go through the resource and consent thing, which we might not be able to get through because it has that zoning on it that it should be farmed. I think that's
your real packet for.
Yeah.
You want to take that rural production off so you can build houses?
Yes.
Build a home.
Yes.
Right.
Instead of putting cows there, I want to put people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a rule in the rural production zone that does allow kainga. So it's only, I mean, unfortunately I've been planning for too long and now I'm a glass half empty person instead of a glass half full, but that's why I look at the risk and I say, how might this be interpreted?
Yeah.
And are they going to go into constitutions and say, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be owned by Māori, so that you don't fit the criteria. That's my little thing. As I say, I'm just a bit needed.
Kia ora whaia. At the start of the hearing, I declared my interest in the other two get out of that. So we just clarified it's not. I still want to be clear. I am familiar with the whenua there. I've seen that there's the flame trees have been removed and the relocated dwellings have been pushed back into the side of the big pile now.
That's not us.
Oh, so that's not you.
Okay, so can I just say, everybody keeps saying, what are you doing with the houses? I said, well, it's not mine. So, that paddock with our old homesteaders, which is burnt and we were trying to take it apart, and the flame trees, okay, I haven't been home for 3 weeks, so I haven't seen it. 2/3 of that front paddock, there's a boundary that runs up where all those houses are.
Oh, okay.
That was part of the parcel that we were offered to purchase, but that is Māori whenua. And I said, actually, I don't want to get into a fight with my whanaunga and Pukipoto because it's theirs. I only want to use the general title land so that I don't have fights with my relations. So, part of that front paddock, and it just goes downwards that way, is owned now by Hazley.
Yes.
And so we haven't put the fence up, but all of that is his. And I've told both Marae, when I've been at the hui, those houses aren't mine, okay? That is Hazley's, and no, Waitunga didn't purchase that piece of land because of that. We didn't want to argue with our whanaunga, so we just bought all of the general title land.
And I understand the density, the higher density that the multi-purpose zone allows for. Just looking at the pattern of the settlement within Pukipoto, it is much higher density of development, like a settlement cluster of many of our settlements within Ngāti Whenua. So I understand that wouldn't be out of place with what's proposed in the zoning, particularly with all the whare that are pushed up to the road that lead along to the Urupau one side and then between the marae on the other side. Also having a school, there used to be a shop across the road there.
Yes, it did.
And of course the Urupau on the hill. So I don't think that that's out of place what's being proposed. I think the definition, so I had similar questions to our officers about the national planning standards, and you would have heard those part-time in the last presentation, potentially.
Yeah.
There was also a discussion with the last submitters around the definition of kainga.
Yeah, heard that.
So I'm not sure where that will land, but that's definitely something that is being thought all about. So I'm not sure if you had any suggestions as well in terms of the definition, which we've highlighted in the last submitters is not a definition from New Zealand planning standards, it's a definition from our plan.
I heard that, and I'm sure we fit into that, Teresa, when I was listening to it. Is there any parts that you don't see us fitting? Anybody?
So that's really what we've just been chatting about now.
Yes.
So. Clause D, we think that, and I think this is what the certainty that you want to ensure, isn't it, Mr. Wood, around whether clause D, which is the definition of public hiring as general land owned by Māori where it can be demonstrated that there is an ancestral link identified. So, Mr. Wood, you contend that is too subject to interpretation somewhere, and you're offering an E as a relief that general land where it can be demonstrated that there is an ancestral link identified for those residing in and benefiting from the activity. My stand on that was we didn't have scope. But I'm wondering whether a practice note to clarify that in this particular case, you could fit in with D, or generally, how that clause D could be interpreted would be helpful broadly for the definition. That wouldn't preclude you from requiring a resource consent under the current zoning. That's right. Yeah. But what it is, public housing is restricted discretionary, and if you can meet that definition of public housing for that location, for that property, as Commissioner Corey says, well, I'm not wouldn't be a consent planner, but we understand our consenting planners treating public housing as a must-have. So in our district, so they're looking at processing resource consents in a very for public housing in a very, as I say, it won't preclude you under that zoning requiring consent, but it may give you more certainty of getting a consent if we can provide a quick practice note that clearly.
And we've got whakapapa ties to pukeputu.
That show, I guess we need to, I can't write a practice note on the hop, but we could work on one that makes it clear whether you, that you can meet that.
What we've heard today is that the land is owned by Māori, and therefore you would meet the definition of papakainga, which is clause D, general land owned by Māori where it can be demonstrated that there is an ancestral link identified. So what we're saying is that in our view, you do meet the definition, and therefore you could qualify for restricted discretionary activities and it's within the action zone.
Is that good?
Yep. So the only thing I suppose is then the zoning, and because what we've just talked about there enables papakainga but with a restricted discretionary resource consent required.
So I suppose the issue that I think we're trying to understand is there a legal impediment to rezoning this land from water production zone to mining purpose? Does the council have that discretion to apply mining purpose zone to the land?
Mr. Chair, I thought when we provide for some consideration as part of what I apply, I think at a framework level it's problematic. I guess what we're saying is A, there's change coming, but B, also we're encouraging of the concept and actually facilitate what we can. But we've heard a bit of stuff today, so I think we'll consider that and probably respond for something, I think.
So I think the answer is your submission's been heard, and we'll pursue a number of options to see if they can come up with an acceptable solution. Yes, I will.
Can I just make one more point there? Just that the land around your marae that is Māori people's land. And so ours butts up against yours. And so, and when I look at it, it just all makes sense. The other thing about our whenua, Felicity, is that on that land, there's that hose, There's that water hose that runs across our whenua to the marae with the water. I'm sure that's there too. So for me, I'm Māori. I'm part of whakapapa there, and so is the whenua. And I wanted to be portrayed as ours in a wider sense, ours in Māori, I suppose, rather than, see, that's, he has the legal version of why he wants to change it, and I have this other version of why it makes sense to me to change it to Māori purpose land. It's because it is Māori land, really, Māori purpose land. But the only reason we want to keep it in general title is that so that we can just get money, I suppose, and build houses. And then in the end, when my people there want to own it and can afford to own it, then how do we, if it's general title, it's easier then to switch, I think, to them to own it. All those, and I haven't put it together yet in my mind, but that's, that's the ongoing thing, is how do we create that intergenerational wealth by securing a house for our people so that, so that in 50 years' time, the same family is in there, and their mokapunas have a benefit of having their whare. Which you can say is all puki puku, they all, the generations of all of the different families, Auntie Virulin and her house is still there, all of that. Anyway, that's my last thing, is that there's other reasons beside the legal reasons.
We did hear similar whakaaro from Ngāti Reke as well this morning about a purchase of a general title land block at Waimatino with an ancestral link. So it's a, common kaupapa, and I think what you're raising is that,
in the future.
All of iwi, especially with
we are looking now.
Settlements, we'll be looking to purchase back the ancestral land, which is likely to be general title land.
Yes.
So this is a common thing that will come up for our district.
Yes. Kapai.
So this is, if mehemea ka whakai, then we have to look at the other submitters as well who meet the definition as well. There you go, Katie Murray causing trouble all over the place.
People. But you make a great point, Felicity, because then if I put my iwi hat on, we are economically now, we're starting to grow our wealth for our people. One of those things is then to start to purchase back whenua in and around Kaitaia, because that's Te Raroa's rohe, and to start to do it on a greater scale. And the reason that we haven't done that yet is because we just haven't had the funding. And when we go to the Crown, there's a lot of, the housing money has gone down to Gisborne, to Tairāwhiti and all of those other areas. And so we're trying to do some of the things by ourselves rather than wait for the Crown to come up with it all the time. And this is one of those instances where we can try and do it without Crown assistance, which makes us feel a hell of a lot better when we can do it by ourselves. So there's lots of things within things. Ka pai, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, this has been a really good, another good submission, and a good comment between everybody in the solution. Everyone's got their solution hats on. So
yeah.
The council wants to ponder things a little bit more, but the right reply will be published online in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you.
Probably more good than take. And so you're drying up to that, and then we'll be making our final decision after we receive that final recommendation. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good, everyone. Thank you for your time. Now, of course, I have to put my other hat on.
I think there might still be some lunch out there.
No, we're fine, thank you.
You'll have to battle the council officers to get some.
Ka pai, everyone. Have a great day.
Get one.
Thank you.
We've got some,
Congratulations on finishing.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The folks are almost there. We've just got the right, we have a right reply, we still have one. And I think we probably need to have some other official things happening at 3.
Correct.
Right, so we've got
Oh,
3:30. Okay, we've got the time.
But we're going to half an hour. Half an hour for lunch, isn't it?
Yeah, let's get a half an hour. James, how much time do you?
So that you come back in a better mood and
Not sure food's going to help my mood. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Okay,
So when should we come back? When would you like to come back?
Can we do a round number like 2:30? Just.
Yeah, and what I propose to do is I'm going to get all the panel members here.
That'd be, I was going to suggest.
Okay. Stopping the recording. Sorry, you to interrupt. And you.